بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين عباد الله أوصيكم وإياي بتقوى الله وطاعته وأحذركم وإياي عن عصيانه تعالى مخالفة أمره يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم من عمل صالحا فلنفسه ومن أساء فعليها وما ربك بظلم العبيد. We begin, my dear brothers and sisters, as we always do, by sitting quietly, emptying our hearts and minds from all of the thoughts and concerns and emotions that course through them. And in this state of inner peace, we feel the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we bear witness to him. We feel our hearts surrendering, maybe performing a sajda of the heart and the soul, and we say, we bear witness that there is no God but God, the One, the Almighty, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate, Creator of the heavens and the earth, Light of the heavens and the earth. And we complete this testimony by bearing witness that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his beloved servant and messenger, who was sent by God as a mercy, as a rahmah to all of the world. We invoke Allah's greetings of peace and blessings upon the soul of this noble prophet and messenger, whose intercession we seek and whose precedent we aspire to follow as best as we can. Allah has declared in his noble book that whoever of you does good, whoever of us does good, has only done so to our own benefit, and whoever does wrong has only wronged his own soul, for your Lord is not unjust to his servants. My dear brothers and sisters, today I'd like to discuss Laylatul Qadr, the night of power or the night of majesty, as it has been translated. Trying to understand or to make us understand Laylatul Qadr is a challenge. Allah admits this in Surah Al-Qadr, where he says, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. And how can you know what Laylatul Qadr is, or how could you wrap your head around what Laylatul Qadr is? And part of the challenge, brothers and sisters, is because we are seeking to understand something which has as its fundamental nature a connection between the human and the divine. The divine, God, created time, created space, created matter. So God is outside the context in which we have been created. So for us to seek to understand something which is both within our context and outside it presents a fundamental difficulty and, in fact, a near impossibility. But we must try anyway. And God does so by saying that the night of power is better than 1,000 months, and explaining some of the things which happen in it, such as that, the ruh, the spirit, and the angels come down on that night regarding every affair, or to help arrange every affair. So what I'd like to suggest today is that we try to take a look at Laylatul Qadr from the point of view, not from the human point of view, but from the divine point of view, because that way we get a more complete and self-consistent picture of what it means. I've given an example of this difference before. For example, if you ask what is a human being and look at it from the earthly or the human response, you will say the human being is a creature who is physiologically a warm-blooded mammal, similar to the apes. He is a thinking, creative, has a thinking mind, a creative mind. The human being is a social animal, gregarious, and needing to live in communities, and so forth. But if you seek to define the human being from God's perspective, then from God's perspective, man or human being is the earthly container or repository of the divine spirit, or a breath of the divine spirit, which is breathed into it, and thereby also a creature given a special trust, a highly exalted trust and mandate from God himself, the amana. So this is how God defines us, as an earthly creature in which Allah has injected a puff of his own ruh, his spirit, and given especially highly exalted trust and mandate and purpose by God himself. So if you look at Ramadan from the human point of view, Ramadan is the 9th month of the lunar calendar. And maybe, well, we can say we fast this month of Ramadan. It's a month in which we fast, etc. But if you look at it from Allah's perspective, Ramadan is defined as the container in time of Laylatul Qadr. So Ramadan is a time when Allah injects into it Laylatul Qadr, which means it is the month in which he brought the Quran or sent the Quran down. On this night, he sends the Spirit and sends angels to embrace affairs and to arrange the affairs of all of humanity. This is why the quality of Laylatul Qadr cannot be compared with 1,000 months or 1,000 years. It is a special night in which God reaches out or reaches down to humanity and touches humanity. The first Laylatul Qadr was the event in which Allah sent the Archangel Jibril down, who embraced the Prophet in the cave of Hira, commanding him to recite and revealing the first verses of the Quran. But what is amazing is that our Prophet has instructed us that we too can have our experience of Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr, brothers and sisters, is therefore, you might say, the unfolding of your consciousness of God in your own consciousness, where God reveals himself in your own consciousness. And we've also said that all of Ramadan, the fast that you fast Ramadan, every day gives you a taste of Laylatul Qadr. It's as if Ramadan is a cup, a container, and Laylatul Qadr is a tea bag, and it is soaked in Ramadan, and every day that you fast, you sip and you get a taste of Laylatul Qadr. So every day that you fast, you are getting a sip of Laylatul Qadr. That is why this explains why when I try to find the specific date on which Laylatul Qadr occurs from the reading the hadith, I could not find it. The Prophet said, seek for Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and in the last odd numbered nights of the last 10 days of Ramadan, which means the 21st, the eve of the 21st, the 23rd, the 25th, the 27th, or even the 29th of Ramadan. So it's not specific. But even if you define it that way, you know that that Ramadan does not start the same day throughout the world. One, because the new moon will appear sometimes, in the United States before it is seen in Malaysia or Indonesia or in Saudi Arabia. So Laylatul Qadr is not a specific night or a specific date, like, the 17th of April. It's not specific like that. It is when Allah touches you. That is why there are also a hadith which the Prophet acknowledges and validates some of his companions who experienced Laylatul Qadr in the first 10 days of Ramadan. When I first heard this, I was a little surprised, but the Prophet didn't deny it. He validates it. So therefore, what I learned from this is that Laylatul Qadr is not a specific time outside of you. It is your time. It is your moment where Allah touches you in a way that you know you have been touched. And that is why it's qualitatively, you cannot qualitatively compare that with any other regular night. That is why even like say 1,000 months does not equate to Laylatul Qadr, because that experience of having known God and feeling the radiance of divinity lighting up your heart and soul, granting you a degree of inner radiance and luminosity, a qualitative shift that transforms our worship towards a state of intimacy with God that fills us with a tremendous, practically palpable sense of peace. So, because whenever you experience God in a dream or in a vision, you wake up feeling a tremendous sense of peace. This peace. This is why Allah says, Salam hiya hatta matla'i al-fajr. Peace it is until the rising of the dawn. You feel a peace before you awaken to the busyness of your life. It is this peace that strengthens, that calms, that soothes, that empowers, that directs you towards your Creator. You taste this peace in Ramadan when you fast, and you feel it, and you feel your soul filled with this sense of peace and tranquility. This, brothers and sisters, is what it means to experience Laylatul Qadr. And therefore, Laylatul Qadr happens to you when you are ready for it. You prepare for yourself for it. But it happens to you when it happens to you. I've also noticed that every Ramadan has its own flavor. There was a time in my younger days where Ramadan for me was a time of retreat. I would just come back from my work and fall asleep until Maghrib, have my iftar, and then perform my 20 rakats of Taraweeh prayer, and just feel filled with this presence of God and as if I'm conversing with God, and it was just feeling lovely. But then after marriage, and there came a time when I was required to be active in the outer world and could not retreat as I used to. So I learned from this that Allah gives us new ways of experiencing Ramadan. So do not feel that you have to be locked in to one way of experiencing Ramadan. Be open, because Allah is infinitely variable in the varieties of His creation and His creativity, and how He puts us through different modes of experiencing even the fasting of the month of Ramadan. Another thing that I'd like you to think about about Laylatul Qadr is that when you have experienced Laylatul Qadr, you are now at a different level. You are at a different maqam. So, for example, if we say that when the Prophet performs his prayers, he's praying from the maqam of Laylatul Qadr, a maqam where the value of his worship is better than 1,000 months of another person's worship that lacks the content of this maqam. So the question becomes, how do we attain a similar maqam? This qualitative difference is partly explained in the Prophet's hadith, in which he says, many a fasting person gets nothing from his fast but hunger and thirst. And many a person who stands the night, qam al-layl, meaning doing the qiyam or tarawih prayer, gains nothing from it but fatigue. So the value of an act, brothers and sisters, is more than just the physical performance of the act, although that is certainly necessary and is a requirement. But it also requires the spiritual engagement, the mental engagement, the emotional engagement. But even with all of that, when you are touched by God and you experience your own Laylatul Qadr, everything about you gets transformed. The Prophet, for example, was just a man. But after Laylatul Qadr, he became Rasulullah, God's messenger and prophet. A huge difference. So after your experience of Laylatul Qadr, you too may be given a mandate by God. You may be given a task by God. And everything that you do becomes transformed by the rank in which you have been given, the maqam, the rank of Laylatul Qadr. So, brothers and sisters, seeking Laylatul Qadr, preparing yourself for Laylatul Qadr, is about preparing yourself for it, committing to your fast, committing to expressing the highest degree of morality and ethics, softening your hearts to Allah's remembrance, Allah's dhikr, and being ready to receive your experience of Laylatul Qadr. I pray to Allah that He grant you this joy and this pleasure and this gift. So look for experience of Laylatul Qadr every day. Just don't wait till the 27th or on the odd nights. Be open to it whenever it may happen. Because from Allah's point of view, time is all in one plane. Allah is equidistant, you might say, from all moments in time. So your experience of Allah's presence and His intimacy can happen anytime. May Allah bless us all with experiencing Laylatul Qadr and making it a transformative time for all of us. Brothers and sisters, pray to Allah that He may answer our supplications. O Allah Ta'ala, an yastajib li wa lakum. May He grant us all the blessings of being forgiven in this month of Ramadan, and may He make us worthy to enter paradise by the gate of Rayyan, the gate which has been appointed or vouchsafed to those whose fasting is accepted by Allah. Ameen. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. O Allah Ta'ala, yastajib li wa lakum. Pray to Allah the Exalted that He may answer our supplications. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا كما أمر ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له المتعالي على المشاركة والمشاكلة لسائر البشر ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبده ورسوله النبي المعتبر واعلموا أن الله تعالى صلى على النبي قديما فقال تعالى ولم يزل قائلا عليما وآمرا حكيما تنبيها لكم وتعليما وتشريفا لقدر نبيه وتعظيما. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وارض اللهم عن الأربعة الخلفاء السادة الحنفاء المميزين بعده بالرعاية والولاية والاصطفاء ذوي القدر العلي والفخر الجلي، ساداتنا وموالينا وأئمتنا أبي بكر الصديق وعمر وعثمان وعلي. وارض عن السبقين السعيدين السنن الشهيدين القمرين النيرين، سد شباب أهل الجنة في الجنة وريحان نبي هذه الأمة، الإمام أبي محمد الحسن والإمام أبي عبد الله الحسين، وعن أمهما فاطمة الزهراء، وعن جدتهما خديجة الكبرى، وعن عائشة أم المؤمنين، وعن بقية أزواج رسول الله أجمعين، وعن التابعين وتابع التابعين وتابعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات يا رب العالمين. اللهم وأيد الإسلام وأعل وانصر كلمة الحق والإيمان. اللهم اجعل خير زماننا آخرة وخير أعمالنا خواتيمها وخير أيامنا يوم لقائك، وارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا، ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافك ولا يرحمنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم أصلح أحوالنا وبلغنا مما يرضيك آمالنا، واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا وبالسعادة آجالنا، وتوفنا وأنت راض عنا يا رب العالمين. أسأل الله العظيم رب العرش الكريم أن يغفر لي ولكم والمسلمين أجمعين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم. Brothers and sisters, before I request the Iqamah to be called, I just wish to remind you that this month of Ramadan is one of great generosity and great charity, where Allah has been incredibly generous to us by forgiving us our sins and by pardoning, hundreds of thousands of people this month of Ramadan from hell, and therefore we too are urged to be generous and charitable. We therefore seek your generosity and your help in furthering the aims and programs of Cordoba House. This organization, brothers and sisters, is yours. We serve you. It serves your families, your children, as an active and growing and thriving community. And this work can only be energized through your commitment, through your support, and your active participation. Many of you have reached out to us by calling, emailing us, requesting more open video and open microphone programs in which you can participate and ask questions. We have heard your requests, and we have been and are planning courses and events that will enable you to participate interactively. We therefore appeal to you to join our efforts in serving your community, in serving yourselves. Help us to serve you. As the Prophet said, the best of you are those who are the most beneficial to each other. You will also be receiving an email for those of you whose email we have, but for those whose email we do not have, you'll be asked to fill out a form after the prayer is done on the Zoom. But in the email, you'll be asked how you can help us, both financially and in terms of your expertise. And we need everybody involved, brothers and sisters. And please respond, because this is how you will build your community. Just as the Prophet built his community in Medina, he couldn't do it on his own or with just 2 or 3 others. The whole community, responded. But this is how not only he served his own community, or they served themselves, but they also spread the message of Islam throughout the world. And there have been many non-Muslims who have contacted us and who have responded to some of the things that I've done on some programs, and some of them have become Muslims as a result of this. So please, brothers and sisters, donate to us as much as you can, and do it not only in terms of a one-time help, but also in terms of a regular help, because this will help us sustain our programs and our activities, which include our Cordoba House Sunday School, our weekly Friday Jum'ahs, our weekly Friday night dhikr, and our classes. For example, this coming June, inshallah, in a couple of months, we are planning a 3 or 4 session class on Islamic law to help explain it to you and to answer any questions that you may have on this subject. And we are grateful to you for all the feedback that you have given us, and we keep asking you for this feedback. Among our immediate programs, we have begun a monthly Quran Khatm, where we get together and we assign different people portions of the Quran, different portions, so that in the span of about an hour or an hour and 15 minutes or so, we have finished a complete recitation of the whole Quran. So this coming Sunday, April 9th, at 5:30 p.m., we shall be having our next monthly Quran Khatm in my home in New Jersey. We shall assign each of you a portion of the Quran, and we have asked you to tell us whether you can recite it in Arabic, if you can. If not, you can recite it in translation, and if not, in transliteration. The point is that we want to finish the Quran by 7:15 p.m. or so we have time to get ready and serve you all a wonderful iftar. And for those who cannot make it in person, you can participate in this Quranic recitation via Zoom. So those who are interested in participating in this, please email Samira, our executive assistant, at EA for executive assistant, at cordobahouse.com. A week from tomorrow, on Saturday, the 15th of April, 2 of our community members, Muna and Sharaf Gan, whose children are also attending our Sunday school, are hosting an iftar at their lovely home in Wilton, Connecticut. After the iftar, I will, give a brief talk and answer any questions that you may have. Of course, then at 9:30, we shall be having our Tarawih, Aisha and Tarawih prayer as well. And because this program is being held to support the Sunday school, please bring your children of Sunday school age. This is their event as well, or primarily their event. Our Eid plan is that we're planning an Eid picnic in Battery Park in downtown Manhattan. This will be on Friday, April 21st, after the Eid prayers, which will be conducted online on Zoom. Those who are interested in any of these or have any further questions, please email Naz, N-A-Z, at cordobahouse.com. And as I said, for those of you who are on our mailing list, you shall be receiving an email regarding all this. So please respond, as we want to grow our community, and we need you and your participation to make this community grow. Again, we welcome your donations, regular donations especially, that enable us to serve you. And please remember that Allah has said that whatever you give fi sabilillah, and this is indeed for sabilillah, Allah will multiply it to you at least 700 times, and He promises more to those whom He pleases. And I shall ask Behruz to give the iqamah for the Jumu'ah prayer.